Because of that, they actually don't care about the RTX 4080's launch. They don't care about its performance. They don't care about its sales. They don't care if it doesn't move units. This is the RTX 4080, a very controversial GPU launch, but while I already talked about who should and should not buy the 4080, in this video I'm going to be looking at it from a tech enthusiast trying to do some business and market analysis and discuss why exactly people are so irked and annoyed by the pricing of the 4080 and why exactly Nvidia launched the 4080 the way they did. Because I have a feeling that this negative response that they're getting is exactly what Nvidia wanted. It's exactly what Nvidia intended, and that there were some ulterior motives. Sounds like a conspiracy, but hear me out before you comment down below your opinions and whether you agree. Let's talk about why enthusiasts are so irked by this new graphics card. For one, it feels like the extension of the current last-gen model lineup, not a generation of new products for the future that's exciting. And as enthusiasts, we want new, we want exciting, but this doesn't have that. It just feels like a 3090 Ti Plus Super Edition. Because it's more expensive than any GPU from last generation, it just feels like a higher-end model of the current lineup rather than a brand new lineup that's replacing the 3080. Another thing is that the 4080's value for money, that is to say the performance per dollar, how many FPS you get in games for every dollar you're spending, has stayed the same compared to the 3080 or even dropped in some games and some situations. And that's not very desirable because it's kind of supposed to increase generation upon generation. According to Gamers Nexus, if you see a 1% rise in performance for a 1% rise in price, what you're seeing is stagnation, and that's a fair enough assessment for the 4080 as well. New generation tech with its new generation manufacturing, new architectures should allow Nvidia to give you the same level of performance for less money, or more performance for the same money. But what they're basically saying with the 4080 launch is, yes, while we can do that, if you pay $700 for a graphics card, you're not allowed to get more performance, even though we can give you more performance for the money. You're gonna have to stick to your lowly 3080 level of performance, and we're not going to actually replace that. This way, Nvidia can make more profits on this new generation of technology than the last. Essentially, each unit of performance costs you more, all while each unit of performance costs Nvidia less to put in a card. So basically, the gap is increasing between marginal revenue and marginal cost, and their profits are being increased. Which makes sense for a business to do because they are a business, but from an enthusiast consumer standpoint, it does feel like you are getting ripped off. Because the cost savings are not being transferred to the consumer, or while the value is not even maintained for the consumer, but actually being reduced for the consumer. On top of that, Nvidia looks very arrogant from a public opinion standpoint, acting like this, with AMD launching the 7900 XT and XTX just 3 to 4 weeks away on December 13th. If you're thinking of buying the 4080, by the way, just wait for the new generation of AMD GPUs because we have no idea how those will perform and how those will change the market once they come out to balance things out. Ironically though, this might exactly be the reason why Nvidia ruined the 4080 launch. Not because they're arrogant and don't care about AMD, but I think, contrary to that, they actually really care. They're actually really concerned about the 7900 XT and the XTX's launch and the competition and what that might mean. By ruining the 4080, Nvidia is taking their 1 month head start of launching the RTX 4080 to achieve two things. Number one is, because the 4080 has no competition currently, they have a lot of price inelasticity and they have a lot of price setting availability, so they can set a very high price and charge whatever, and people will still buy it because there are very few alternatives. So they're trying to milk this period of exclusivity as much as possible. Number two is because the 4080 isn't their priority. They don't care about the 4080's launch, at least not yet. Why? Because I think Nvidia's priority now isn't actually moving 4080 units. It isn't selling as many 4080s as possible. It isn't making the 4080 a success. They have 2 years left to do it because it's early in its product cycle, while the 3000 series GPUs are coming to the end of its life. I think the reason they ruined the 4080 launch is because they only have 1 month left to move 3000 series GPUs close to their MSRP, because when AMD arrives with the 7900 XT competing with the 4080, they then have to start getting serious with the 4080 and start cutting prices of the 4080, which will result in them having to cut prices for the rest of the 3000 series cards down below it, which means they lose a lot of profit on those older cards. And I don't know if you know about this, but Nvidia has many reports about how they have a massive excess of 3000 series stock, oversupply of 3080s, 3090s, 3070s, 3080 Ti's. So if Nvidia has to cut costs on a lot of them and sell a lot of them for a much lower price than MSRP, they might suffer a massive loss in profits and might even lose money on moving them. Unlikely because margins are big, but they definitely would want to sell as many units before AMD competition arrives, driving overall prices down, than afterwards when prices already have been pushed down. After all, Nvidia doesn't need to rush to have good sales for the 4080 and make a lot of money off the RTX 4080. They still got 2 years of this graphics card being on shelves before it's ever end of life. It's a brand new card. What's the hurry? And because of those priorities, I feel like that is why the RTX 4080 launch has been the way it is. And that's why I think the negative response, the negative feedback is exactly what Nvidia has wanted. It's played into their hands perfectly. We hate on this. With the 4080's pricing being so controversial, the 3080 suddenly looks amazing. And suddenly people are buying up 3080s and they managed to move a bunch of stock before the AMD GPUs come along and cause a massive decrease in prices among these older last-gen GPUs that are coming towards the end of the life. This is, by the way, why I insist that anyone looking at 4080 or any graphics card right now should really just wait a month or two. Because once AMD's new graphics cards come out and competition increases and balances the field once again, we as consumers stand to benefit a lot from lower prices, more choices. So then, what do you think? Do you agree with my opinions? Do you agree with what I think Nvidia is doing here? And do you think I'm right or just a stupid conspiracy theorist? I would love to hear your opinions down in the comment section below. Make sure you like and subscribe. Today has been a triple upload. It's been very difficult to do. My voice is completely gone. I'm very tired.